Today I'm giving away my secret recipe for delicious brownies. They're fudgy, they're chocolatey, they're the only brownie recipe you'll ever need. So stay tuned. So one thing about this recipe that I love is that it's incredibly simple. It actually doesn't use any cocoa powder and it uses only melted chocolate. So that's the first thing we're gonna do with these brownies. Right here, I have 12 ounces of chocolate chips, and then I also have 6 ounces of butter. And you already know 6 ounces of butter, it's gonna be insane. So I'm just going to pop this in the microwave in like 30-second intervals and just gently melt this chocolate. So I'll be right back. So the microwave that I use is quite powerful, so it only took 2 30-second intervals to get it to this consistency. So when you take it out, it's gonna have a little bit of oil on top. So you just wanna make sure and gently stir that butter in so that it kinda has almost like a nice homogeneous texture. So I'm gonna let this cool completely, and I'm gonna move on to the second part of this recipe. So this probably looks a little bit weird, just being frank with you guys. Usually a lot of people make brownies using the box. While there's nothing wrong with that, with this brownie recipe, you're not gonna get any kind of like chemically taste. It's gonna be super chocolatey, it's gonna be pure. And I know brownies is a very like gateway baking item. Usually it's one of the first things people make in the kitchen besides pancakes. And it's just delicious, it's a crowd pleaser, and no matter what, I feel like everybody has their little thing with brownies, whether they put nuts in them, caramel, or they prefer them just plain like how I'm making them today. So I'm cracking 5 eggs into a large bowl, and I've washed these eggs beforehand, and I can't say this enough, guys. If you have eggs, please make sure and wash them properly. Even before the whole global pandemic situation, you have to really be sure to wash your eggs. Sometimes they smell kind of, I'm like walking around like these cameras. I don't want to have to remind you where eggs come through out of. Okay, so we have 5 eggs right here, and I'm actually going to add 2 cups of the Cuisine Genuine Demerara brown sugar. And we are using brown sugar today just because it kind of adds an even bigger depth of flavor to our brownies. So I'm just gonna pour this right in here. And I know 2 cups seems like a lot, but it really does balance out the bittersweet nature of the chocolate chips. That's right here, so 1 cup in. All right, okay, let's move this aside. If you have a stand mixer, this is the time where you would use it, or you would do this whole thing in the stand mixer bowl. But we have our little trusty hand beater, so I'm just going to beat this all together until it's super fluffy, light, and the eggs are almost white, like they're very pale yellow. So it will take some time, but brownies are worth it. All right, y'all, so what a transformation. As you can see, our eggs have expanded a lot. It's super pale, it's super frothy, and this is how it's supposed to look. So take your time, just whip those eggs up. That probably took me about 3 to 4 minutes to do, and it's definitely worth it, and you're gonna taste the difference in the end. So next thing we're gonna do is I have my chocolate here, and it is cooled down quite a bit. So I'm just going to gently fold my chocolate into the egg mixture. Just gonna plop some right in there. And what you're trying to do is just to maintain that aeration throughout the batter. We worked so hard to get those air bubbles in there, and we're trying to keep it. And just a tip, so when you're folding in something, you really want to move the bowl and kind of scoop from the base and push it over. That way you're not really knocking out as much air as if you were mixing it vigorously. So baking is really all about temperature and physical manipulation. So if things are a certain temperature and you agitate them enough, it will change its makeup. And I think that's pretty cool. So even with a simple dessert like brownies, you can see that come into play. Great. Nice. So I'm just gonna keep folding. We are using just a little bit of flour. It's really just 3/4 of a cup of flour. So I'm just gonna put my cup measure just shy of a full cup. So if you have any friends nearby, clearly I don't today, but I do have friends, I promise. You can have somebody actually sift while somebody folds, and that is key. That is like prime folding technique. But today it's just me, so I'm gonna do it intermittently. Oop, and I almost forgot, we're adding a teaspoon of salt. There we go. Gotta have salt in what you're baking. It always brings out the flavor even more. There we go. There we go. Oh. All right, so I'm just gonna wiggle my batter into the corners, make sure everything is nice and even. And already these brownies are looking thicker than a Snicker, and it's not even baked yet, so you all just wait and see. I'm gonna throw this in the oven for 25 minutes, and then we're just gonna take them out and let them set completely, and then it's eating time. I cannot tell you guys how delicious it smells in here. So these have been in the oven for 25 minutes exactly. Now please do not be tempted to stick any forks or knives or toothpicks in there to see if it's gonna come out clean, because it is not. Sometimes for certain baking products, you want it to be fudgy. So I'm actually gonna let this set for at least 2 hours, and I know it's a lot, but it is totally worth it. And then we're gonna cut these into squares, maybe pour a cup of tea and enjoy one of these bad boys. So I will see you guys in a few. All right guys, need I say more? So these have cooled for quite a long time, probably about 3 hours. We cut them into squares and they are fudgy AF. This is how I like my brownies. I like when it has a nice little shiny crust on top and it's super dense in the middle. It's like my preferred way of enjoying brownies. So without further ado, I'm gonna try this right now. I'm gonna take a little small wedge. Look at that. The crust on top, super flaky and light, and then inside you get that contrast of pure fudginess. This is my favorite brownie recipe, and it's sure to be yours as well. Special thanks to our friends at Cuisine for making these delicious brownies happen and this video happen as well. Cuisine products can be found at Massey stores nationwide. Always a pleasure having you guys here with me. Trust me, these brownies are life-changing. Enjoy them and enjoy the rest of your day. Mwah! Bye!